Good morning, everyone. Today we talk about a wonderful love poem, The Sun Rising by John Donne. So before we talk about the poem, we have to talk a little bit about the poet. In the earlier session that I took with you, I talked at length about John Donne as a metaphysical poet. So Mr. Donne, who belonged in the early 17th century, he was the chief force behind the metaphysical poetry. And why it is so famous, the metaphysical school of poets, because of the element called the combination of emotion and thought in their poems. So you find it in Donne's poem. Besides metaphysical poetry, and Donne's poetry is also very reputed for the conceit, the very learned and witty conceits. Wit is of course one of the very pertinent element in his poetry. Wit, how he compares the dissimilar things and goes to a very rational conclusion. So there we find the wit. And his use of language is colloquial language, not the very decorated kind of traditional language. And of course, this poem is also very famous for having this element called dramatic element. Here also you find how many characters are there, and as if the dialogue is going on, argument is going on between this character, the chief character being the sun himself and the poet. In the poem, most of the poems of Donne is presented in a very argumentative manner. Here also you find the beloved is present. In the presence of the beloved, the argument of the speaker, Donne against Donne, is going on with the sun. And this poem and many of his poems are the love poems. Of course, the other poems are also there, like religious poems. But this poem is a love poem where you find he talks about a very erotic kind of and passionate love elements. Psychological insight is another element in his poetry. Whatever is happening inside the mind, he just foregrounds it. You find lots of paradoxical imagery, lots of indirect and extended metaphorical, meaningful paradoxes you find. Hyperbole, a lot. Exaggerative comparison, exaggerations are there in his poems. And you find also images taken from the learned, various branches of knowledge, geography, science, astronomy. So here also you find personification is another element which he uses. Poetic personification is a poetic device through which inanimate objects are personified as human being, as if a chair is behaving like a human being. So that's personification. The poets use this technique often. Here also the sun. Sun is not a living being, but here the sun is portrayed in such a manner as if sun is a human being, and the sun is disturbing him, sun is behaving, acting. So this is what he does here with sun. An apostrophe has been used. Apostrophe means he addresses sun in such a way as if it is a human being. Besides, this poem is also a love poem. We cannot forget it. It's basically a love poem, and Mr. Donne is equally remarkable as a love poet. So most of his poems deals with the theme of love, and he proves in his poetry the supremacy of love, particularly the conjugal love. He also supports the sexual relation beyond marriage or premarital sex. He is of that school who is known as the Neoplatonic school. So he did not simply believe on the union of true souls and true minds. He also believes that physical union is equally important to reach the spiritual level of love. And his attitude to the woman, the beloved, is often very scornful and cynical. He had a doubt about the constancy of the beloved in love, and he is also sometimes abusive and scornful against his beloved for their reluctance in having the physical affair. So that's it. Mainly he believes that body is the bridge. Through the union of the body, we can reach the union of the soul. So physical to spiritual love. In his poem, we find the description of sensuous love, the description of the physical love, of course, and it's very passionate. He is very passionate. The lover is always passionately wooing the beloved. So passion is one very important element. Another interesting thing, unlike the Petrarchan sonnets, unlike the Petrarchan poems, we have hardly any description of the female body or female beauty in his poetry. So he avoids the female beauty. He talks about love, not the body of the female. Of course, this point I talked, sex is very important in his poem, and he believes sex is the bridge. Sex takes us to the spiritual level of love, and this sex is not confined by the boundary of marriage. Marriage is not that important for sex. Of course, this when he talks about the sex in poetry, he does not mean lust. If there is lust and sex, that is not accepted by him. That should be inspired by pure love. Now let's come to this poem, The Sun Rising. The Sun Rising, you see the spelling of the sun is a little different as the convention was there at that point of time. The poem was published in 1633. The rhyme scheme has been given to you, beautifully lyrical rhyme scheme maintained. Every stanza you find A, B, B, A, C, D, C, D, E, E. The theme, of course, it is a love poem. The theme, he tries to assert the supremacy of love and how if there is true love between the lover and the beloved, it means the entire world for them. In fact, the entire macrocosm. So, entire macrocosm confines into the world, small world of the lover. It is a true love, true bondage. So, the poem deals about the Neoplatonic love, means the physical and spiritual both. This poem was, of course, influenced by another piece of literature written by Ovid. The great poet, the great classical poet Ovid. The name of the piece was O Aurora. Now let's go to the poem. In this poem, this is a typical metaphysical poem with the theme of love. Here, as the metaphysical poem opens, you find a few characters, the beloved, silent, but beloved's presence is felt. And the speaker is the poet himself, is the speaker. And to whom he is speaking to another character, Sun. Sun is personified as a human being here. In the presence of the beloved, he is speaking to the sun. And we have to remember, sun was worshipped traditionally at that point of time. Sun was glorified all through the ages. But here, done, breaking the convention, he is very abusive, very scornfully belittling the sun. He is downplaying the sun in such a manner to glorify his beloved or their love. He belittles the sun. And not only the sun, the entire world, the entire existence is nothing before him and his beloved and their world of love. This is the point he tries to prove. And the beginning line is very controversial, very argumentative line, very shocking beginning as the metaphysical poetry begins. He simply throughout the poem belittles, downplays sun, the entire existence, the entire world, everything in comparison to the glory of their union and of their love, his and the beloved's. So he begins the poem by calling the sons busy old fool, unruly son, why dost thou thus through windows and through curtains call on us? Hey son, he's simply dismissing the sun. It's an early morning scenario within his bedroom. He and the beloved in a union on passionate love. They are there in the bed. Maybe it is the early morning and the sun is awakened and sunshine or sun ray is peeping through the window and the doors. So he is disturbed. That's why he simply dismisses the sun. He simply scolds the sun. Hey, busy old fool! He's scolding the sun. This is very unpoetic language he is using, but metaphysical poet, they use this kind of language, very rough language. So, busy old fool, unruly son, why are you here? Why are you disturbing us? Why are you peeping through my window and the doors? We are in such a wonderful moment of making love, and you are disturbing us? Why the hell are you doing this? So this is a kind of scolding he's throwing at the sun. Must to thy motions lover season run? I know you have a system. You have a system of dawn and dusk and night. It is because of your motion the entire world going on like a routine. But we don't obey your routine. I know this is a morning, but the lovers don't obey any routine. Only one rule goes there within the lovers, that is the rule of love and passion. So your motion cannot simply order us, cannot rule over us. Saucy, pedantic wretch. The sun is compared with a showy kind of teacher, showy kind of pedantic, pedantic, very showy kind of person. Why you are here? Better you go. Get out from here and go. And to whom you should go? You should go to the late schoolboys. You see, there are certain schoolboys. It's a daily activity of the morning. There are some schoolboys who are getting late to go to the school. You go and just wake them. And sour apprentices, and you go to the some trainees who are not involved in their activity work properly. You go to them. Tell court huntsman that the king will ride, and you can also alert the helpers in the court of the king. Tell them the king will go to the hunting, and you should prepare the ground for him. You should help him. So you go and go there, and better use your time in awaking those people. Call country ants to harvest. Obviously, country ants means the peasants. Peasants in huge number, that's why ants. So go and call the country ants, harvest their offices. It is time of harvesting. The crops are mature now. Better the peasants, the cultivators will harvest their crops now. You go and just tell them that it is early morning. You start your work now. Not us. Leave us. Love all alike. No season knows nor climb. Love. The passionate love does not obey any rule. They don't know what season it is. They don't know what climate it is. There is only one season, only one climate, that is love. Nor hours, days, months, which are the rage of time. If there is true feeling of love between the lovers, then they don't realize the passage of hour, days, months. These are meaningless to them. So, in the very first stanza, we see how Donne gives a very shocking kind of beginning. Language is typical metaphysical language, and he is taking lots of imagery from day-to-day activity, starting from the countryside to court, everywhere, and he is so much dismissive to the sons, and he is really angry over the intrusion of the sun. And in comparison of the daily activities, he is glorifying their world of love, which is beyond every little thing. Second stanza, thy being so reverent and strong, why shouldest thou think? See, he continues belittling the sun. He continues insulting the sun. He says, Mr. Sun, you are glorified. I know you have been hailed, you have been talked a lot about your strength for having such reverent, such great beams, ray. Your ray is very strong, very dazzling, etc., etc. But you should not be proud of that. I don't think so. Because, for example, I know your sun is very dazzling, very bright, but if I wink my eyes, if I shut my eyes, it is nothing. So I can dismiss your sun ray in a moment by winking my eyes. But I can dismiss your sun ray however dazzling and bright it may be, by winking my eyes, but I don't do so before my beloved. My beloved is brighter than you, more dazzling than you, more attractive than you. And that is the reason I would never wink my eyes before my beloved. So there is a comparison between the shine of the sun and the beloved, and of course, as a true lover, he glorifies the lover more than the sun. And then he tells the sun, if her eyes have not blinded thine, look and tomorrow late tell me. I better request to Mr. Sun, you go now. If your eyes are not blinded by the beauty of my son, see the comparison here. The suns will be planted by the beauty of the beloved. So luckily, the brightness of my beloved, if it has not blinded yours one, better you go back. And tomorrow you can come to me. Tomorrow you come to me. So initially beginning he was dismissing, now he is inviting again. Come to me tomorrow. Why? To tell me whether both the Indies of spice and mine be where thou leftest them or lie here with me. Today, I know you visit the entire universe, entire world you roam around. Your sun ray is equally in every corner of the world. So today, when you awaken, you must have visited both the Indians. Both the Indians means East Indies means like this country, India, and West Indies, you know the country West Indies. So India was famous for spice and West Indies was famous for gold mines. And in that 16th and 17th century, Renaissance time, exploration was one of the prominent activity by these colonial forces. They used to explore this kind of countries, and they used to take these minerals and materials from those countries. So that's why he knows, and Mr. Dan is a very learned kind of poet. He's a Renaissance product as well. So he knew, and he is using this knowledge here. He says, Mr. Sun, I request you, today you left West Indies and East Indies in their own respective places. But tomorrow you come to me, and I promise you, you will find all your West Indies, East Indies and entire world in my room. See, this is a metaphysical conceit. How his small room is being compared with the entire macrocosm. How the entire macrocosm, entire world can be this little room. He will prove it by his argument. Ask for those kings whom thou sawest yesterday, and thou shalt hear all here in my bed. Yesterday, in every corner of the world, you reached all the kings and princes I know. You met them in different corners of the world. Tomorrow morning, I promise you, all those kings, all those princes will be here, right here in my bed. In my bed. Because she is all states and all princes, I, nothing else. Because, so this is the line. Very meaningful line. It's a big conceit here. He calls her beloved all states, all the world, and he himself is the prince of that. Try to understand this. Why he is arguing with the sun that you will find all your princes, all the East Indies, West Indies here in my room? Because in comparison to the external world, for a true lover, the beloved is the world. In my beloved, I find the value of the entire world. So if we compare the entire world in one hand and beloved, which one will you take? The true lover will say, my beloved is more valuable than the entire world. So in that sense, in my beloved, I find East Indies, West Indies, European countries, all the kings, queens, everything, all together, even more valuable than that is my beloved. So in that sense, my beloved will be here in my bed. So if my beloved is here, that means my entire world is here. Entire macrocosm is here, entire universe is here for me. So, and I am the owner, I am the boyfriend of this beloved. So, in that sense, I am the prince of this beloved. So, this beloved is equal to all the states and kingdoms. So, I am the prince, means I am the owner of all these kingdoms indirectly. So, see, here goes the wheat. This is an example of wheat. How indirectly, how subtly, but with a rationality, he proves his point. Though very uncomparable, he compares it wonderfully. Princes do but play us compared to these. And what do these princes do? The entire princes and kings, what do? They copy us. Because the true happiness they don't find. They are jealous of us because they find true happiness when they see us. So they try to mold our model to be happy. All honors mimic, all wealth alchemy. Thou, son, art half as happy as we are. Before us, before our relation, before our true love, all the honor is a mimic. Whether you are being honored by the world, you are being awarded with Nobel Prize or whatever, these are meaningless before our relation, before our true love, before our true meaningful love. Even all wealth, if you give me lots of money and gold and this and that, these are also meaningless because my beloved or our relation is richer than that. So, again he comes to son and he is very dismissive. Thou. So this is an apostrophe, example of apostrophe, how he is addressing the son. Thou, son, art half as happy we are. So Mr. Son, I pity you because you are half happy than us. You are not at all comparable to our happiness. You cannot be as happy as we are ever. In that the world is contracted into thus, because I have already proven to you. You are proud that you can reach the whole world, but your whole world can come into a little ball and can be here within my bedroom, because my beloved is more than the world for me. So the entire world can be the beloved, can be my room. So it can be contracted, it can be smaller. Thine age asked is, now you see how dismissive, and now he is also becoming empathetic and sympathetic towards the son. He says, son, I feel that you are too old. You are too old and you are tired because for long time, infinitive time, you have been roaming, you have been doing your activity. Now your age, you are so old and weak, it seems that your age wants retirement, a rest. So how can you have the rest? See, very logically he explained, how can you have the rest? Since thy duties be to warm the world, that's done in order. God has given you a responsibility, and the responsibility is that every day you have to get up early in the morning and you have to spread warmth through your rays entire world. So entire world you have to roam around, warming the people. But your job will be lessened, your burden will be lessened. How? No need to go to the entire world. You just come here in my room and shine us. And thou art everywhere. Another metaphysical conceit here. He compares an entire world, entire macrocosm with his room. I told you. For him, this room and the beloved is more than the world. If it is more than the world, if you come directly here, you give shine here in this room, that means indirectly, if this is the world itself, this means you are shining the entire world. So your work is less, simply this room, shine this room, but job is done, because the entire world will be brightened, because the entire world is confined here within this room. This bed, thy center, this walls, thy sphere, and this bed, my bedroom's bed, and this room can be your sphere. Means you can circle around this room, your job is done. Here, before 16th century, the belief, astronomical belief was that the earth was the center and sun used to rotate, revolve around the earth, which was later changed anyway. So Donne takes this example of the earlier knowledge, and he says, for you, Mr. Sun, this our bedroom can be like the earth, and if you circle around our room, your job is done. So less work, and job is mature, and final job is done. So this is all about the poem. The poem begins with a kind of dismissive manner, the sun why you are intruding, but it ends in a very very interesting manner, though very ironically it ends, but it welcomes the sun to rotate around his room. But he is able, when in the beginning there is a competition between the sun, the power of the sun, and the world, wealth, etc., etc. And there is a big antithesis, means oppositeness, with his world of love. And from the beginning, the competition goes on, but in a very argumentative manner, with the help of the example of images, comparisons, and conceits. At the end, he proves that his room, his beloved, his room symbolizing love, his world of love, is far more greater than the external world or the power of the sun. This is how he proves his point at home. And he proves that if his room and his beloved is more powerful, means supremacy of love, because this symbolizes love. So this is the poem all about. Now, little bit critical issues we talk. So in this poem we find it's very witty, the metaphysical element of wit everywhere, very subtle, very indirect, and he takes help of the geographical knowledge of exploration, knowledge of astronomy, everything. And conceit, of course, how he behaves with the sun, how he compares world with the beloved. So very, very unlikely comparisons are there, so the conceit is everywhere. He also used the method of parallelism. Comparatively he progresses. In the one hand, external world, on the other hand, the love, world of love. These two equally, parallelly he takes the argument forward. Wealth and romantic love, which one is greater? This parallelism throughout this comparison, antithesis is there. Lots of images has been there from the day-to-day life, from geography, from astronomy, etc. Throughout the poem, we find one point: knowledge and feeling has been very beautifully mixed here. As T.S. Eliot said, metaphysical poets, particularly Donne, why he is famous? Because of this beautiful combination of knowledge and feeling. Knowledge, you find lots of knowledge. He talks about East Indies, West Indies, and why they are so famous. He talks about how sun used to revolve around the earth. This knowledge existed earlier, astronomical knowledge. All this knowledge is there. At the same time, feeling is also there. His feeling for his passion for the beloved rules over everything. How to prove this feeling, he takes help of the knowledge. So both are combined. Antithesis, the oppositeness throughout it is there. External world, world of love, sun, beloved. Oppositeness is there, and to prove his point. Beginning and end, there is a big contradiction. In the beginning, he is very dismissive toward the sun, but at the end, he welcomes the sun, but in a different manner after proving his point. There are some critical views also, some over the few, particularly in the modern times. This poem has also been criticized by the feminist for being patriarchal, when he says that his beloved is equivalent of all the kingdoms of the world. If his beloved is all the kingdoms of the world, then he is the prince. And we know that the kingdom are to be exploited by the king. If beloved is the kingdom, then he is the prince, means he is the owner of the beloved. So this is the point, patriarchal point. Patriarchal in the sense, the patriarchal believes that the woman, the wife is always under the male. The husband is the owner of the beloved. So due to this point, due to this approach, this poem is sometimes criticized. Secondly, it is also criticized by the post-colonials. Post-colonialists, criticize the colonial approach of the earlier colonialists. The colonialists in the colonial era, before our freedom, what was the approach by the colonial forces like British, Portugal, etc.? They tried to roam all over the world and bring all the wealth from the entire part of the world in their own country, and they firmly believe that England is the best. English is the best in comparison to rest of the world. So they used to gather there. They used to exploit all other parts. Here also you find bringing wine from West Indies, bringing spices from East Indies. These are the example how the colonialists used to roam all over and exploit the other parts, and centralizes the concept, saying that England is the best place. Similarly, here the room of the beloved is symbolized by England itself. A room of the, and he says that he calls the sun, you come and just revolve around our room, your job is done. Means entire world is lesser than the room itself. So this was a view of the colonialist earlier, that England is greater than the rest of the world. So these are some of the critical views. You can avoid also because you are in degree level. But anyway, this is all about the poem. The important question for an exam, of course, this poem as a love poem, you have to prove it as a love poem, as a metaphysical poem, and what are the conceits used here, and what are the images used here, technical point of view. So these 4 things you have to remember in mind. Hope this class has been useful for you. If there is any doubt, you can call anytime or you can interact with me. So thank you very much.